The elevator dinged on the 27th floor. Sarah adjusted her ID badge and stepped out, her heels clicking against the polished tiles of a company she had practically helped build. For 20 years, she'd been the quiet force behind some of the firm's most successful campaigns. She wasn't flashy, she didn't boast, she simply delivered, every time. Today, however, something felt off. Her boss, Alan, avoided eye contact when she greeted him. A meeting had suddenly appeared on her calendar. HR, 11 a.m. No details, no agenda. She walked in, heart thudding. The HR director, Linda, was already seated. Alan stood by the window, arms crossed. "Sarah," Linda began, not meeting her eyes, "we regret to inform you. Your position has been terminated effective immediately." It felt like the air had been punched out of her lungs. "No warning?" she managed, her voice cracking. "After 20 years?" Alan cleared his throat. "The company's shifting direction. We appreciate your service, but this isn't personal." Not personal? She'd worked nights, missed holidays, mentored interns who now sat in executive chairs. She'd sacrificed family time for deadlines. And just like that, they were erasing her. As they handed her the severance papers, she noticed the cold detachment. She wasn't even being escorted out by security, just quietly deleted like an old file. Outside the building, Sarah stood in the winter wind, clutching the box of her things. A photo frame of her late husband stared back at her. "They think I'm done," she whispered, the pain burning in her chest. "But they don't know me." Over the next few weeks, Sarah spiraled. Job boards, rejections, silence. The same people she trained wouldn't even return her emails. Her bank account dipped lower. Unemployment barely covered rent. One night, while organizing old boxes, she came across a dusty folder labeled Network, 2008. Inside were names, scribbled notes, thank you cards from past colleagues, interns, and clients. People she'd helped. People who once said, "I owe you one." Her hands trembled. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as forgotten as they thought. She picked up her phone. The first call Sarah made was to Lisa, a woman she had mentored 15 years ago when Lisa was a shy intern fresh out of college. Lisa was now a senior VP at a rising marketing firm in Chicago. "Sarah?" Lisa's voice was warm, surprised. "Oh my God, is that really you?" They talked for over an hour. Sarah didn't mention the layoff directly. She simply said, "I'm exploring new directions, maybe consulting, maybe helping firms avoid the mistakes I've seen lately." Lisa laughed knowingly. "That's exactly what people need right now. You have no idea how many companies are fumbling because they don't have someone like you." That one call opened a door. Sarah spent the next week contacting people, not begging, just reconnecting. She didn't ask for jobs. She offered value. "You remember the crisis we handled in 2012? I have a solution that could prevent that from ever happening again." Word spread. Within 2 weeks, 3 companies reached out for advice. Unofficial chats, quick feedback. One offered to pay her for a 90-minute Zoom consultation. Sarah couldn't believe it. She converted her guest bedroom into a tiny home office, borrowed her niece's ring light, dug out her old blazer, and cleaned up her LinkedIn profile. Fractional consultant, she called herself. She didn't even know what that fully meant, but it sounded real. Then came the first real offer. A startup in San Diego wanted her to lead their crisis communication plan for 6 months, remotely. The pay? More than her last full-time salary. Sarah cried after that call, not because of the money, but because someone finally saw her worth without needing her to prove it again from scratch. Her confidence grew. She started saying no to smaller gigs. She wrote sharp posts on LinkedIn, storytelling her experiences without bitterness, just truth. Her words struck a chord, especially with mid-career women who feared becoming invisible. Meanwhile, Alan, her old boss, read one of her viral posts. He didn't comment, but he saw the likes, the shares. His jaw clenched when one of their top clients tagged her saying, "We've missed your wisdom." Inside the company Sarah had left, things weren't going smoothly. A junior executive, one of the very interns Sarah had trained, was now in charge of the major account Sarah once managed, and it was falling apart. Alan didn't want to admit it, but things were crumbling. The major account Sarah used to handle, the one that brought in nearly 40% of their revenue, was at risk. The client had already threatened to pull out twice. He sat in his office, scrolling through Sarah's LinkedIn posts. Her words were calm, reflective, but powerful. One post read, "Sometimes the people who quietly keep everything together are the first ones to be cut. But resilience isn't loud. It rebuilds." He didn't like it. He didn't, even dare screenshot it. But it stung, because he knew he had made a mistake. That same afternoon, the junior executive, Derek, walked into Alan's office pale and sweating. "They're pulling out. I don't know what to do. They won't listen to anything I say." Alan rubbed his temples. "Have you even been following the escalation procedures?" I didn't know there was one." That was it. Alan waited until the office cleared out, then picked up the phone. He dialed Sarah's number, the same number that had stayed in the company database for 2 decades. It rang twice, then a click. "Sarah Martin." Her voice was crisp, professional. "Sarah, it's Alan." Silence. He heard a soft exhale on the other end. She didn't hang up, but she didn't speak either. "I know I have no right to ask this," he started, "but we're in trouble. The Henderson account is slipping away. You're the only one who really understood their ecosystem. Would you consider—" "You fired me," Sarah interrupted, calm but cold. "After 20 years, no notice, no severance, just a cardboard box and a security escort." "I know, and I was wrong." Silence again. "I'm not asking you to come back full-time. Just help us stabilize it. I'll pay whatever rate you name." Sarah paused. She could hear desperation in his voice. The same voice that once dismissed her ideas in meetings, that once told her she was too emotional when she defended her team. "How's Derek?" she finally asked. Alan sighed. "Overwhelmed, unprepared. He's not you." Sarah allowed herself a small, unseen smile. "Email me the details," she said. "And Alan?" "Yes. There will be a contract, and I'll be working on my terms. I don't need this, you do. Let's be clear." "Understood." She hung up and stared at her ceiling. She didn't feel victorious. Not yet. But something inside her had shifted. For the first time, she wasn't playing their game. They were playing hers. Sarah is about to walk back into the very company that discarded her, but now as an outsider with power. 3 days later, Sarah walked into the same glass building that once humiliated her, but now she wasn't holding a cardboard box. She carried a sleek laptop bag, a calm gaze, and something far more dangerous: leverage. The receptionist, who once avoided eye contact on Sarah's last day, stood up nervously. Sarah Martin? You're back?" "I'm a consultant now," she said with a neutral smile. "Alan is expecting me." Alan greeted her himself this time. No assistant, no delay. Just him, the same man who couldn't even face her during her layoff, now practically rushing to hold the door open. "Thank you for coming," he said, trying to maintain control. "We've set you up in the West Wing." "I'll work remotely," she interrupted. "I'm only here today to get clarity and access." Alan nodded stiffly. As Sarah walked through the familiar halls, employees whispered. Some avoided her. Others looked her straight in the eye. The older ones, the ones who remembered how she once carried them through the recession, the pandemic, the mergers. One by one, they started emailing her quietly. "Can we talk?" "Glad you're back." "Sort of." "We need your kind of leadership again." Sarah didn't respond yet. She focused on the Henderson account. She saw how Derek had bungled the communications, missed crucial technical updates, and completely ignored the informal ties she had built with the client's internal teams. Within 48 hours, Sarah fixed it. She redrafted proposals. She reached out to her old contacts. She set up a virtual call with the client's project manager, a woman named Tanya, who nearly cried seeing Sarah's name pop up. "Sarah, we thought you were gone for good." "Seems I was only misplaced," she smiled. Tanya nodded, eyes narrowing. "So, Alan brought you back." "Just for this project," Sarah said diplomatically, but Tanya's tone sharpened. "If Alan had just listened to you in the first place, we wouldn't have considered leaving. You were the only reason we stayed during the merger chaos." The call ended. The deal was saved. Sarah emailed Alan one sentence: client retained. Invoice attached. Alan didn't reply, not immediately, but Sarah didn't need his thanks. What mattered came next. That night, she posted another message on LinkedIn. Sometimes you return not to belong again, but to remind them who you were before they forgot, and what they lost when they let you go. It went viral. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of women in senior roles commented. Executives, HR heads, startup founders all resonated. Sarah was no longer just a laid-off employee. She was a symbol. And then came the email. A venture-backed consulting firm, Stratus Partners, reached out. We've seen your story, your leadership, your turnaround strategy. We'd like to bring you in, not as a contractor, as a senior partner. Sarah has options now. Real power. The company that discarded her is at her mercy, and bigger players are knocking. Will she walk away forever or finish what she started? The email from Stratus Partners sat in Sarah's inbox for hours. She stared at the words over and over, wondering how she had gone from the woman who was let go with a handshake and a forced smile to someone who could dictate the terms of her future. She felt a surge of power, but also the weight of the decision ahead. It wasn't just about the money. It wasn't just about the prestige. It was about proving something to herself, to Alan, to everyone who doubted her. She wanted more than a paycheck. She wanted to make them all see her for who she really was. And for that, she needed the right opportunity. The phone rang. "Sarah," Alan's voice came through, flat but tense. "We need to talk." "I'm listening," she replied, her voice steady but filled with quiet strength. "I know what you're doing. I'm not stupid," Alan said. "You're trying to undercut me. You think this firm can offer you more than we ever could, but you're wrong." Sarah's fingers tightened around the edge of her desk, the weight of his words sinking in. This wasn't just business, this was personal. "Alan, I'm not undercutting you," she said calmly. "I'm doing what's best for me, and you should have done that for me months ago." Alan laughed bitterly on the other end. "You think this is all about you, Sarah? You think you're the only one who's been hurt? I had to make decisions too. I didn't want to lose you, but I did. And now I have to rebuild too." Sarah leaned back in her chair, feeling her heart race. She'd been too caught up in her own revenge to consider his point of view. But she pushed those thoughts away. This wasn't about them anymore. This was about her and her future. "I'm not coming back, Alan," Sarah said firmly. "I've built something bigger than this office, something you couldn't even see, and it's bigger than you." There was a silence on the other end of the line. "I'm going to make sure your clients know who you really are, Alan," Sarah continued, her voice dropping lower. "I'll ensure they know the truth behind the decisions you made. The layoffs, the budget cuts, the way you chose to destroy lives for your own gain. The truth always comes out." "You wouldn't dare," Alan hissed. "Oh, I would," Sarah said, her smile chilling. "I have everything I need now, and you'll never see it coming." The line went dead. Sarah sat there for a moment, her fingers hovering over the keyboard, considering her next move. She could go to Stratus, she could join them, take their offer, and leave this place behind. She could make more money, gain more influence, build something even bigger, or she could take a different path. There was something else she could do. She pulled out her phone and dialed Tanya's number from the Henderson account. Tanya picked up after the second ring. "Sarah, everything okay?" "Better than okay," Sarah said with a grin. "I'm calling in a favor. You and I both know there's someone who needs to be reminded of what happens when people forget who built their empire. I need your help to take him down." Tanya didn't hesitate. "You got it." With everything in motion, Sarah has the power to reshape her future. But at what cost? The question remains, will she use her newfound power for personal gain, or will she take down the man who wronged her, even if it means losing everything? This was no longer just about proving a point to her old company. It was about owning her narrative, and Sarah was finally ready to write her own story.